For most family buyers, buying an MPV that's low on ownership cost, is good on space, and is easy to maintain are some things that do not necessarily come together. There are a few options that do it really well, and the others struggle in that space. Now, with electric MPVs coming in, buyers have a choice of a lot of 7-seaters in the market. And today we are driving the Kia Carens Clavis EV that really appeals to a lot of buyers for exactly those reasons. In this road test, we figure out what's good, what's bad, and what I would like to be better on the car. The Carens Clavis EV shares its design with its petrol and diesel counterparts, and barring a few EV-specific styling changes, it is not all that different. There's a full-width light bar above the grille, there are ice cube themed fog lamps, and a new scuff plate. The charging flap now sits in the center of the closed-off grille, and the bumper even has active aero to optimize battery cooling. The profile remains largely the same, save for the new aero-optimized 17-inch alloy wheels, while the rear continues most of the elements from the ICE version, including the connected taillights. Under the familiar body shell, however, there's an all-electric powertrain borrowed from the Hyundai Creta Electric. We are driving the top spec version of the Carens Clavis EV. It gets a 51.4 kWh battery pack, makes about 169 brake horsepower, 255 Nm of peak torque, and I have to say this is a deceptive model because for a people mover this is actually quite fast. 0 to 100 km per hour in 8.6 seconds, and the best part, power delivery is very linear. So you don't realize you're doing a certain speed until you get there, or that 80 km per hour beep comes in and really tells you that this is a fast car indeed. I'm actually quite liking this because on the signals at traffic lights, I'm the first one to get out, and a lot of people think that this is a lazy MPV, which it is not. So nicely deceptive that way. I also like the fact that it is a nice handler. It's neutral when it comes to steering feedback, but when it comes to body roll and overall handling and connectivity, it's actually quite nice. The battery sits under the floorboard, so the center of gravity is quite low, and that actually helps maintain good body roll on the car. Despite its extended height, you do not feel the cornering effort, you don't feel a lot of lateral movement going side to side around a corner, which is great. Which means that a lot of passengers, especially in third row, do not feel car sick around twisties. The other bit that I like on the Carens Clavis EV is the ride quality. It's nice and sublime, very effective, and gobbles up undulations very easily. You do feel a certain underlying stiffness, but I think that's actually nice because when you're doing higher speeds, when you're doing say 100 km per hour out on the highway, there is a certain stability to the car that's very impressive. But for the most part, especially at cruising speeds, it just glides over most undulations, which is great. Braking is smooth with disc brakes across all 4 wheels, and the car comes to a stop confidently. The Clavis EV gets Regen braking with 4 modes that allow energy recovery and even one-pedal driving. You can change the Regen modes using the paddle shifters, and the setup allows the speeds to be modulated easily. While performance and handling are impressive, the cabin space is the major selling point for the Carens Clavis EV. The cabin on the Carens Clavis EV is quite nice. It is quite familiar to the petrol and diesel version, so if you have driven those, this will feel like a familiar territory. I do like the way it's been designed. Nice and roomy, the dual tone colors again add a roomier feel. Even the texture on the dashboard is quite nice. In fact, the leatherette upholstery, that is quite nice. Premium bits that add more value to the cabin. The plastics are sturdy but don't feel very premium. It misses out on soft touch materials, which I think would have been nicer and maybe added a more premium feel. I like the way the steering wheel goes. I like the dual screens again that are very nice. Crisp graphics, very nice to use, and even the touch on the touchscreen itself is again quite nice. All of it works really well. The one caveat I do have is the fact that there is no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. You have a wired option, that too on the top variant, which is a little retro in my perspective. Compared to the petrol and diesel versions, the big change is the center console. This is a floating unit that you do not see on those versions, and that actually liberates more room. For instance, you have lower space here and more storage. That way you have a wireless charging that goes in there. You also get this cup holders over here, along with an armrest with storage right there, and of course all your other functions including the ventilated seats, the camera function, auto hold, all get integrated into a button set right there. The front seats are very comfortable. The cushioning is very nice. I am very comfortable. I'm 6'2", and yes, the headroom is generous, the leg room is generous, and the under thigh support is equally nice. The driver's seat is partially electrically adjustable. The height adjustability is manual, which I'm not a big fan of, but overall this is a nice space to be in. Now, talking about premium bits, you do get a Bose sound system, which I think sounds fantastic and is great for the price you get in the car in. And also you get a very premium camera system on the car. In fact, the 360-degree camera has some very good output that you do not see even on some more expensive cars. That I'm very happy about. But you do feel budget things here and there. For instance, the window switches, that feel a little budget. That could have been done better. Unlike other EVs, you do not sit knees up inside the Carens Clavis EV. Second row is actually quite comfortable, under thigh support is great, and you have a nice and commanding view of the road. You sit slightly higher compared to the front seats, and I think that is really nice and really comfortable as well. The cushioning is nice, and in this bench setup you get a center armrest, but you do not get cup holders, which I think is a miss. Now the good thing is that Kia is offering captain seats as well in the second row, which means even more comfort and individual spacing that way. That makes the second row even more comfortable. You also get a tray table right there with an integrated cup holder, which is quite nice. There is of course an air purifier, and the ultimate flex, well, you have a Bose mode right there. So one lever and you can adjust the front passenger seat again to your comfort for more legroom. There is generous legroom already. You have individual AC vents mounted on the roof, which can be controlled from here. You also get Type-C USB charging ports and a 3-pin socket. So work never stops on the way. So if you're those who are looking at a chauffeur-driven car with a comfortable second row, this would be a nice place to be in. And the fact that you get sun blinds as well is something that will impress you even more. The car gets a one-touch tumble-down function, which makes accessing the third row easy. Now, as you can see, the third row may not be the space for a full-size adult. The headroom is not that great. The legroom is just not there. And yes, under-thigh support is negligible. But for kids and young adults, say up to 5'6", 5'7", this should be a decent space. Maybe not for long distances, but yes, for otherwise in the city, this should be a nice place to be in. Now, Kia has made this a little comfortable with AC vents over here. You also get cup holders and Type-C USB charging all the way back here too. So that is quite nice to see. The third row has a reclining function too, which is quite nice. That's 216 liters of boot capacity, good for 2 medium-sized bags. Lots of soft bags can go in there. And if you want more space, you can always fold the rear seat flat, and that should give you about 600 liters of cargo capacity. The spare wheel is mounted under the car, liberating a more usable boot. But if you want more space, there is a 25-liter frunk under the bonnet, just enough space to carry the portable charger. Apart from the usual features, the Carens Clavis EV gets vehicle-to-vehicle and vehicle-to-load functions, a swap control switch for the infotainment and climate control functions, 64-color ambient lighting, a panoramic sunroof, and shift-by-wire gear selector mounted on the steering column. The Carens Clavis EV gets two battery pack options, 42 kWh and 51.4 kWh, and it is the latter that makes more sense. Kia claims a range of 490 kilometers on a single charge, but in our tests, we've been conducting that on the car regularly. it gave us a consistent range between 300 to 350 kilometers on a single charge. That is what the real world range looks like on the car. That's about 7 kilometers per kilowatt hour, and I think that's not bad. Once you consider that it's peak summers, we've had the AC running, we're running it in the normal mode, you can juice out a little more range in, say, the eco mode. But then again, you're looking at somewhere between 380 kilometers and 400 kilometers on a single charge, but that's only when you're hypermiling the car. The AC is the biggest consumer of the battery pack on the Carens Clavis EV. Turn it down to 22 and you'll see about 20 kilometers go away. Turn up the blower and you'll see another 20 kilometers go away. I think the biggest shortcoming on the model itself is the battery compared to, say, the XEV 9S or other models in this segment. Even the new VinFast VF MPV7, this actually gets the smallest battery pack, and that actually hinders the range when it comes to intercity travel. If your real world range is about 350 kilometers, you're looking at more frequent stops for charging. So that actually takes a hit, and when it gets unpredictable because of AC consumption, again, it takes a hit, especially with a loaded car. That is a shortcoming I wish Kia resolves with the next update.
On the safety front, the Clavis EV is loaded to the brim with 6 airbags as standard, electronic stability control, hill start assist, 3-point seat belts for all passengers, disc brakes, and more. It gets level 2 ADAS, bringing adaptive cruise control, forward collision warning, lane keep assist, high beam assist, and a whole 20 autonomous features to keep the occupants safe.
Should you buy the Carens Clavis EV over the petrol and diesel version? Well, for starters, if you're looking at a low cost of ownership and a low running cost, I think this is quite ideal. You spend a very low figure, even with fast charging, it's about 1500 to 1600 on a full charge, and that's actually very, very competitive even compared to the turbo petrol versions and even the diesel to an extent. And if you have home charging, of course, that is simply great. But then again, there is more to the Clavis EV story than just charging and range that way. I think it's a supremely practical car. It has all the right features. It's done up very well. I think it's very, very practical, but very modern at the same time. All the screens, connectivity options, everything is there. Plus you have ventilated seats, panoramic roof, all of that. And it can seat 7 or 6 if you get the captain seats very comfortably. The one thing it could do better, well, pricing of course. I think the top variants are extremely high priced compared to what the car has to offer, especially when you look at the competition. And that's where I think a lot of people are distracted and going towards other brands because just how expensive this gets on the top trims. But in the mid trims though, I think minus a few features, it is quite competitively priced. But then again, if you have to pay 3 lakh more and get a more loaded SUV that's also electric, then you do think about that.
Kia has now introduced battery as a service with the Carens Clavis EV. The automaker is offering a dual loan financing structure wherein customers get separate loans for the chassis and battery, allowing a more transparent and flexible ownership. The financing structure offers flexible tenure options of up to 60 months for the vehicle body and up to 96 months for the battery. The higher priced variants are now more accessible, dropping to a starting price of nearly 16 lakh rupees.
But the Carens Clavis EV is as practical as they come, and definitely one of my top suggestions when it comes to buying a new EV.